In today's video, I'm going to talk about why we lose desire in long-term relationships. Now, this is important because relationships are living, breathing systems. And if we're not putting any energy towards it, or the energy we're putting is bad, negative, then the relationship is going to reflect that. I did a video about how to keep passion and desire alive in your relationship. And for this one, I think it's really important to talk through what are habits that come up in relationships that we can start to be aware of. And once we are aware, we can start to work to change it. Just a reminder to hit subscribe if you're enjoying and getting value out of these videos. Okay, let's jump in. I'm going to talk about 4 habits that come up in long-term relationships that actually really impacts or kills desire. Okay, the first one is that neither of you are thriving in your own life. Now, if you have one person that's thriving, they're growing, they're elevating on all levels, and the other person is not, it's going to cause a strain in how you communicate, where you prioritize your time and energy, and really how you relate to the other person. And then if you have a relationship where neither person is thriving, then this is going to kill the amount of passion, the amount of vitality, the amount of eagerness that you have in life. So think about being at dinner with someone where both of you did not enjoy your day. What do you talk about? You end up commiserating. You end up complaining. Maybe you're focused on what your boss did that day or someone that annoyed you and cut you off in traffic. When we're not trying to stimulate ourselves, we're not trying to progress, then our mind finds things to struggle about. And so if you're not thriving, it means you're not growing. You're not stimulating yourself. You're not putting energy in the direction of something that's going to be really good for you. And when we're not giving our mind something to stimulate positively, it's going to find something to focus on for the negative. So think about yourself. Think about your own life. Are you doing things that are actively helping you stimulate your mind, your body, your soul? What is your mental diet? What's your physical diet? What's your spiritual diet? And so being able to first reflect for yourself, where are you not thriving? And notice if you're complaining, if you're bored, if you're stagnant, how does this allow you to connect with your partner? What things are you talking about? What are you connecting on? So in order to sustain long-term desire, we have to have a partner who is also thriving. And from that place of them thriving, we continue to thrive. And then this energy goes back and forth like almost an infinity sign, where we get so much from seeing our counterpart being passionate and eager and excited, and then they get that too. And so the best relationships have 2 people who are actively thriving. They're actively trying to grow. If you have one that's growing, one that's not, it causes a drain in the system. And then certainly if you have both people who aren't thriving, you're going to see a sense of boredom in the relationship. And that's why a lot of people stray. People stray because they're getting so much more pleasure, so much more reward, so much more excitement out of another person. And even if it's just emotional or it's conversational, we go towards what stimulates something within us. And either it's positive or negative. And so both people need to be thriving in the relationship to ensure that desire can continue to build long term. The second piece is that you don't seek novelty together. You're not trying enough new things. A lot of couples I work with, they'll come in pretty bored with their relationship where they're thinking, okay, maybe it's our sex life. Maybe it's our communication. Maybe we're just bored of each other. And then when I check in on what they're not doing anything new. When you're dating, a lot of times that includes going out to new restaurants, doing new activities. Both people are actively creative and curious about the other person. And what this does is it stimulates this vitality and this life force within us. We're going to do new things. We care about what we're wearing to those new things. So when we're in a long-term relationship, we tend to get kind of stagnant. We go to the same restaurants over and over. Maybe we go to the same vacation spot over and over. And those things can be good, but we need some excitement, novelty. Novelty brings us vitality, living on that edge, the unknown. Think about when you're about to jump into really cold water. There's this energy that comes up from the base of your spine, and it creates this life force. If we aren't actively doing that in our own life, personally, and especially in our relationship, we're going to limit the range of topics we communicate on. We're going to limit how much we're actually bringing to the table. And so, if you're in a long-term relationship, make sure that you're always doing new things together. You're approaching new horizons, new frontiers. This is why traveling can be such a beneficial thing to do together. And maybe it's a road trip. Maybe it's just to a town that's an hour outside of where you live. Maybe it's a really luxurious vacation. It can be any of those things. The important thing is you're doing something new together. Learn, experience, create novelty. The third thing that happens, and this is really, really important, we never see our partner in their element. We see them in one dimension sometimes. We can see them how they are with the kids or how they are with us, but we're not seeing them do something they're really passionate about. Earlier, I was talking with a client whose husband is a pilot. And we were talking about when she has that experience of being able to fly with him, what that does for her attraction, what that does for the inner magnetism towards her husband. And whenever she gets to see him fly, she feels so much more safe, so much more satisfied. And I think that really points to how often we don't get to see our loved one be really great at what it is that they're great about. Me personally, when I get to see my husband do the thing that he loves, I notice this fire in him. I notice this spark. And it's that fire and spark that helps push away monotony and anything that's mundane and anything that's boring. So stagnation and boredom is really the fuel that makes us lose desire. It really impacts the desire we feel. And so if we see our partner passionate about something, take a step back and appreciate that for what it's doing to them. Because the person who's passionate is naturally going to have more magnetism and more energy. And we're pulled to that magnetism and energy, even if we're not conscious and fully aware of why. So make an effort to see your partner doing the thing that they love. It can be their job, like with the pilot. It can be something creative, maybe pottery, maybe writing, maybe snow skiing. But make sure you prioritize seeing your partner in their element and make sure that you yourself have something that you're really passionate about, that they can see you do or accomplish. So they get to see this fire within you. And when both of us have that fire in a relationship, it's going to ensure that you feel much more desire, much more admiration, much more vitality together long term. The fourth habit that really kills desire in relationships long term, we end up showing the worst side of ourselves to our partner. And meanwhile, the outside world gets the best version. This is so common. I hear this almost with every single couple, every client that I work with. What the reason or maybe excuse is that, well, I can be myself with you. But is the self that you're wanting to put out there tired, complaining, negative, pessimistic? If you don't show that to other people out there and you show it to the close people, to your family, to your spouse, to your partner, then you really have to check on why within these relationships that actually should be the most special relationships, where it should be the container and the dynamic that brings out the best. Why are you showing your worst? Now, if the energy it takes to sustain this mask where everything is good, you're positive, you have charisma, you have the magic, and you're showing it to everyone else, if that's a front and an illusion and not real, then it does take a lot of energy to be able to maintain that. And I can definitely see if that's the case, when you come back to your partner, you're out of energy. But now I reflect to you, why is that a front? Why is that a mask? And what work do you have to start doing in order to make sure that the place that you're projecting, that you're really true with yourself and you're making sure you're doing the work. So being charismatic, being affectionate, being creative, being magnetic are all actual true reflections of what's going on inside, and it's not fake. And if that's the case, if it's a true reflection, then you're going to get so much energy out of being that version of yourself, being a pure reflection, that you're not going to feel drained by it. You're not going to have an off switch. And actually, if you're doing that inner work and you're clearing everything out that makes you feel like you have to wear a mask and you're being real, and then you start to shed all of the limitations, all the masks that are polluting who you really are, when you are around the closest people to you, your loved ones, your spouse, your kids, you're going to be the best version of yourself. You're not going to have to show up because you're going to be the most real. So couples who show the worst side of themselves to each other and allow themselves to show the best side of themselves to others, this is one of the biggest causes of a loss of desire in your relationship. This is a pattern that has to be broken. The way that you break it really depends on where you are with it. Maybe it's just a mindset shift. Maybe you need deeper healing. So those are the 4 habits that come up in a lot of long-term relationships that kills or affects desire. And so by being aware of these 4, now you can be really intentional and ask yourself, which ones do you need to change and what do you need in order to change it?